Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overlap Breakdown channel. I am back to discuss Sandro Tonali and Mateus Fernandes, both to Tottenham Hotspur for a combined total of £185 million. And you're going to have to bear with me today because I am on my backside. I've just got back from holiday and been recovering from 4 days of illness. So if I do sound a bit different, that's why. But whilst I've been gone, you have been showing so much love on the channel and I really do appreciate it. I know I've been gone for a while and this is even late itself, this video. So yeah, if you can, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Breakdown channel. It helps us out so much over here. And yeah, I'm going to do my best today to try and cover this. And again, I must reiterate, I'm really sorry about my voice if it's dead apparent. But more so than my illness, Mateus Fernandes to Spurs actually got me the worst, because if you did not watch my Mateus Fernandes to United video, I absolutely love that midfielder. And I think, for me, this is the better deal out of the two if it goes through. I think Mateus Fernandes, Roberto De Zerbi has already had comments and already had his statements come out about what he thinks about Mateus Fernandes. And I think if you dissect his words very simply, you can see exactly what type of player he is just from what Roberto De Zerbi says within 2 paragraphs. Despite his age, he already has good experience in the Premier League. He has shown quality at a consistent level. Mateus is a comfortable player under pressure, can progress the ball and works hard for his team and has the courage to make things happen in difficult moments. I've admired Mateus for a long time because he combines quality on the ball with intensity and intelligence. That is why it's so important for the way we want to play. And all in all, we have made an entire piece about Mateus Fernandes, and I want to cover what his game is simply right now for you. And that game is that we described him as a mobile problem solver. And when I'm looking at Roberto De Zerbi and what Roberto De Zerbi is probably going to look to do at Spurs next year with this sort of 4-4-2, with the 2 strikers sitting a bit deeper, this is where I think Mateus Fernandes is elite. I think the way he uses his body, the way he bounces off players, the way he rides contact, the way he shields the ball, the way he uses his hips, everything about it is top level. And I'm talking, when I watch some of the best ball handlers, when I watch Moussa Dembele for Tottenham, for example, they are tall midfielders. They are 6'2", 6'3" midfielders who can use their arms, their legs. This is a 5'11" midfielder with all the technical ability in the world, where he's got low centre of gravity, he shields the ball really well, but he's so sturdy when receiving the ball under pressure. And I really want to just jump straight into the screenshots just to show you sort of what I mean by this when I say how good is he on the ball, how good is he in terms of shielding, in terms of bouncing off pressure, in terms of his intensity. And I've got this example here against Liverpool at Anfield. And we can see long ball comes through. Dominic Szoboszlai is actually the one to put this down. And we can see now Mateus Fernandes is going to go shoulder to shoulder with Dominic Szoboszlai. And what does he do? He gets really low to the floor, gets his arms in, gets his hips in, bounces Dominic Szoboszlai off the ball, actually ends up putting Szoboszlai on the floor, shielding the ball away from him. Then 2 more players come across from him. He dodges the pressure again, moves out of the way, and he's fouled, and he gets West Ham up the pitch in this example. That, for me, is where I think he will be elite under Roberto De Zerbi. Because as we've mentioned, this is how Roberto De Zerbi likes to play. In this 4-4-2 build-up, short distribution. And while it was tweaked quite a lot at Spurs in the last few games where he was managing, he is going to be expected to receive this ball from Van Heck, Van de Ven, Romero if he stays, Senesi, straight-lined passes like this. If the possession is worked like that, if the press is worked, he is going to have to receive back to goal in these situations so well. And when he receives them, the way he uses his body to dance, to bounce, to just get his bum out, get his hips out, he's so good. And when I talk about Mateus Fernandes, what he was doing for West Ham is even more impressive in the data. When you think about West Ham, you think about they were relegated, you think about all them sorts of things, and people are often going, he's got 2 relegations on his CV, is he that good? I've got a chart on your screen right now, which is top 15 line breakers in the Premier League. And we can see Mateus Fernandes is right at the bottom of this with 217, but 120 of his midfield line breaking passes have come within that 217. He also has 28 in the defensive line and 69 in the attacking line. This is an extremely good passer of the football. And I want to show you again his defensive line breaking passes, the graphic on your screen right now. We said 28 before. This graphic on your screen, look at the variety in these defensive line breaking passes. Look at the length played on the ball here. Look at how long the arrows are. Look how accurate the arrows are. And then again, 2 more examples on your screen. Progressive passes 95. Look at the variety. A lot of diagonal switches from the left. A lot of them coming over here with the ball and then actually playing it like that, which is what you need when you're playing against deeper oppositions where you need to switch the play. So I just think he's such a good player. Like, such a good player. And I'm really upset that Spurs have got him, because I really wanted him at Manchester United. I thought he's a player who can play 6, 8, 10. He's a player who can play with different midfield profiles in midfield. He doesn't have to always play with a powerhouse, with a straight line runner. He can, adapt to certain situations. He's been through different teams. And I just think he has everything about technical ability, mobility, physicality, technical quality. Like, I just think he's really, really good. And I've got a last graphic on your screen right now to show you Mateus Fernandes pressures in the Premier League in the season just gone. We can see he's made 1,485 high-intensity pressures. Look at the sheer volume of the amount of pressure points on this pitch right here. This is what Roberto De Zerbi is going to demand of him the most. Maybe the ball playing, yes, but he has that robustness, like, out of possession, which is what Roberto De Zerbi has already spoken about. So, yeah, I think for me, this is a wicked player. And I think in a team that dominates the ball more, the team that gives him the ball more, in more settled possession, in more different situations, you're going to see even better things from him. And I've got an example here, which is just showing you more about the way he looks to dodge pressure, the way he looks to cut through pressure, the way he handles 2v1s, 1v1s. And this example comes against Spurs in the first 9 minutes. We can see here he's showing for the ball, really short distribution on the edge of his own box. This is going to be a situation where you see a lot for Spurs next season. He receives it in there. He gets closed down by 2 players. And on this second screenshot, look at what he's doing with his legs, his hips, his backside. He's really, really shielding the ball and preventing someone to get to the ball. He wins so many fouls by doing this. He then settles the play, knocks it past 2 players, runs into space, and plays a nice ball through to Crescencio Somerville as they go 1v1, 10 minutes in against Spurs away. So, for me, I think this is a wicked deal. And I understand everything about people going, it's £85 million for a player who's just been relegated. And more importantly, when we move on to Sandro Tonali in the second part of this, I want to explain to you, more importantly, like, the price of everyone in this market needs to be set by someone in the market. So, for example, they've spent £100 million on Sandro Tonali. They've spent £85 million on Mateus Fernandes. Everyone now who's selling their players, even look at Elliot Anderson's price tag, they are only going to bump that price further up. They are only going to bump it further up because their market comparisons are going for that much money. So what Spurs have done is took that gamble on someone, on 2 players, before the price gets too far, before it gets too much. And one thing I will say is Spurs have got 1 game a week. If they put together a frighteningly good transfer market, and let's be honest, they've still got money to spend. I think Sammy Mockbell reported yesterday that they've still got 250 million to spend in the market. If they get a Junior Karupa, if they get an Antonio Nusa, and if they bolster that attacking line with that midfield they've already put in there, you could very easily see Spurs go from 17th to 3rd very, very quickly. 1 game a week cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. And let's not forget, the 2 signings Spurs have brought in aren't at the World Cup. Roberto De Zerbi is going to get a full pre-season with them players. And Roberto De Zerbi's main players are these 2. Van Heck's come back, Van de Ven's come back. So, honestly, I don't really think people can criticise too much what Spurs are doing. They finished, was it 17th twice on the bounce? They have to go big this summer. And I think this is a statement of intent. And I do get people going, it's 185 million. You can't say it's intent because they've spent loads of money. In my opinion, they were 2 of my top 3 picks for United in midfield, alongside Elliot Anderson. So let's be honest, they've probably gone and got the best of the midfielders available, in my opinion, to bolster a team. So it's not Arsenal, it's not Liverpool, it's not United, it's Tottenham Hotspur, and they've got 2 of them. So who really cares about the money if it works that well? And I'm going to move on into Sandro Tonali now, who's a player who I've got loads more research on than Mateus Fernandes, because we have covered him before on the channel. And for me, he's a wizard. He's an absolute wizard. I love this player a lot. I think he can be something really special. And I think in a market where everyone's looking for these ball-to-feet midfielders with that physical robustness, the players who can handle contact, he's probably the best, in my opinion, of the ones who were available. So, yeah, fair play to Tottenham Hotspur for getting this one right. And now we're going to move on into Sandro Tonali. Okay, now moving on into our second bit of this sort of duo episode. And yeah, we're going to move on to Sandro Tonali now, who is more, in my opinion, a speculative transfer. Sounds a bit negative, but the reason why I call it speculative is because I think people are really sort of, they're not honest when they talk about Sandro Tonali and what he actually is. And the problem is with that is what he actually is really good. But I think people are overestimating certain qualities. And for me, I'm going to jump right on this because I've got loads of quotes. And as I said before, I've been ill for like 3 or 4 days. So I've just been prepping for this video for ages. And some of the wormholes, some of the rabbit holes I've been down in terms of looking at like him, Tonali at Brescia, at AC Milan, what his youth coaches have said. I've done so much. And the number one thing with me, when I think about Tonali and I think of what people are saying about him, I had a few conversations online with people. A lot of people seem to think that this is a number 6, a proper Italian number 6. Now, even in the Premier League at Newcastle, I cannot say that is true. He has played number 6 for Newcastle, okay? But if I just move everyone back, I even went back and I watched his first season at Newcastle, his second season. So like I've tried to learn why people look at him that way. So with Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton in front of him, he has played number 6. Now, I watched a game against Arsenal at the Emirates, and the amount of times Sandro Tonali was actually coming in here and splitting his centre halves to get on the ball, and then Bruno would come and sit in front like that, was so apparent. And it's not really, it's not a fault, might be tactical, we don't know, but he comes and gets the ball off the centre backs in so much space a lot, and he doesn't really stand behind the forward line of pressure. He's not someone who's going to demand it to feet constantly. He's not. And when I was watching him, a lot of the times, people think that he's a dictator of play, a tempo controller, a bit like Andrea Pirlo, right? So the reason why I get a bit frustrated with this is because, in my opinion, the modern profile that's needed for the Premier League is not an Andrea Pirlo. He's an absolutely legendary player, don't get me wrong. The profile of player that's needed for the Premier League in this day and age, the reason why players are going for 100 million of this quality, the reason why Arsenal want him, the reason why Arsenal want Bruno Guimaraes, all of that is because they can run. It's because they can run, duel, face forward, play the game at an insanely high tempo and leave no stone unturned. And if you don't trust me when I say that, I've got so many coaches here with different quotes about Sandro Tonali's play style. So, when he was interviewed for Milan, when he signed for Milan, and he was interviewed and he was asked who his favourite player was, he actually said Frank Lampard. So, for me, straight away, that's a great comparison towards what Sandro Tonali is. I think he's a head-up, forward-facing. He's even got the switch of play like Frank Lampard, where he can knock the ball from left to right with really good zip, really good pace, really good height on it. Not so much of someone who's going to, drop the shoulder and turn, but someone who's a forward-facing, box-crashing, high-intensity octane midfielder, okay? The Brescia coach, when he was there, Carina, he said he's an all-arounder, someone who fits perfectly into modern football. This is in 2019, right? He knows how to combine two characteristics, those who build the game and those who bring the pressure, and they're looking for a goal. He can shoot from outside the area, and that is now why he's so good. He's starting to score more. Davide Gatti, who was the head of the Lombarda Juno Soccer, which is basically where he's the head of where Sandro Tonali come through when he was a youth footballer. He had 2 trials at AC Milan and he was turned down twice, okay? Gatti's team plays 7-a-side. Tonali occupied a role in front of the defence, and even then, he was setting up goals for everyone left, right and centre. Gatti recalls Sandro played 2-touch football. Who even does that at 7 years old? Playing quickly did not mean Tonali was already polished though, at least not to Gatti's recollection. In quotes, technically he did not excel. He says his technique was very good, don't get me wrong, but the tactical side of his game and physical were his main strengths. Italy's U19 coach said, I was impressed by his tactical intelligence. His reading of certain situations was quicker than others at his age group. He also had great stamina and natural fitness. He was a complete player. It was unusual to see that in a player of his age. All he's got in common with Pirlo is the hair and the Brescia shirt. Technically speaking, he is completely different. Sandro Tonali does a lot off the ball. He throws himself into tackles, and there's a genuine physical side to his game. I see a lot of Daniele De Rossi in him more than I see Andrea Pirlo. And when Eddie Howe was asked about Sandro Tonali when he first joined, about the same comparisons to Andrea Pirlo, he said, he's definitely got similar qualities in terms of build and style, but I think the thing that sets Sandro apart from everyone else is what he can do technically and tactically and look really good. But his athleticism and his ability to run sets him apart. So, for me, I'm going to be honest when I say this about Sandro Tonali. I think he is a really, really, really good midfielder. But I think he's different to what a lot of people think he is. And the reason why I actually like the move, and as I've said, I've been trying to, rack my brain a little bit about Sandro Tonali and why they've spent 100 million on him. Now, for me, Sandro Tonali's always had one thing with his passing game, with his passing package, right? He's someone who is a pass and move player. So if he receives here, you're not really going to expect him under loads of pressure to, twist out of it, to turn out of it. What he will do is he will give the ball to the fullback and then spin and look for the ball in this shadow. That is massive for Roberto De Zerbi's style. It's huge because that's what we said. They play such short distribution. But the movement of players, the intelligence, the tactical intelligence of all the quotes we've just read, they talk about his game intelligence, about his mobility, about his physicality. Sandro Tonali, for me, plays the game at a high tempo. And that tempo, when you play short distribution, is really key. Same to Mateus Fernandes. They've got that element of knowing when to speed up, knowing when to slow down, the pass selection, stuff like that. Sandro Tonali is good for Spurs for that reason. Because when the ball is worked outside like this and the pressure's worked across like that, he can always offer ahead of the ball. And that is massive. It's absolutely massive for Roberto De Zerbi's teams. Not only that, last season, at the start of Roberto De Zerbi's reign, they used long balls a lot. And I don't think you're not going to see long balls. What he also offers you is when the ball comes long, they will set up deep like this in the build-up. When they are pressed, they will be inclined to go long at times. When that ball goes long, Sandro Tonali's ability to run between boxes is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to show you a goal in a minute that really paints this picture. Somehow, some way, when they say the ball moves faster than the man, with Sandro Tonali, honestly, it's not true. The ball can go from the goalkeeper to the striker, and Sandro Tonali can be here in the same split second he was here offering for it. He's that good, and his intensity is that good. So I'm going to show you a little example of what I mean by this. How does he go from back to front so well? I've got this example of a goal he scored against Southampton, so you can see the 2-1 up. Sandro Tonali in this picture is showing for the ball in the build-up. You can see him on the screen right now. This is at 50-14. The ball is knocked long. A Southampton player wins the header to knock it back, and Sandro Tonali already is knocking the second ball. So the ball's gone long. Southampton player's won it. He's headed it back, and Sandro Tonali's already gone, like 5 metres ahead of the ball. He's there. He's winning the second ball. He knocks the second ball into a Newcastle player, and he doesn't just stop his position. He doesn't just hold it there. He carries on running, and he runs through the entire pitch, receives it in behind Southampton's back line, loads of space, and it's such a good finish. This is where Sandro Tonali, for me, is the perfect midfielder for the modern game if you play to them qualities. He's not someone who, as I said before, he's a perfect balance for Mateus Fernandes. This is why I was wanting 2 or 3 of them, even Elliot Anderson. This is why I wanted 2 or 3 of them at United. The balance between these two is really good, because while Mateus Fernandes can receive like this, loads of pressure on his back, very hippie, looks for solutions, Sandro Tonali can be ahead of the ball. He can be ahead of the play. And when he goes like that, if he's running off like that, he will be such a pain in the backside. He's so fast, he's so physical, and all of the quality on the ball that we're talking about, I do think Newcastle does suit him because he plays at such a high intensity. He applies himself to so many duels. He never lets any duel on the pitch or loose ball go without being pressed or tackled or intercepted. He's so present. Now, we made a video a long time ago when Spurs sacked Thomas Frank, I'm pretty sure. And we said in the market, they've gone for players who are tailoring themselves to physical players. So they've gone and got Conor Gallagher, they've gone and got Palhinha, they've gone and got these types of players. And when I looked at them types of players, I'm like, they are the physical mould, but they are not the best in that physical mould. They are like the top 10% of physical players. Sandro Tonali is top 1%. And because he's top 1%, they're paying that percent premium. They're paying the money that it costs to get a premium player like that. I also think Mateus Fernandes is a top 1, 2, 3% technical midfielder. I truly believe that. So, in my opinion, yes, it does look to me that Spurs have opened the war chest and they are genuinely showing the intent to go and compete and to go for it. Mateus Fernandes has already mentioned that when he comes into Spurs, he wants to be in position number 1. He doesn't want to be in 2, 3, let alone 17. So the intent with these signings is already there. So I've got another example just to show you. Sandro Tonali didn't actually score a Premier League goal this season, but I do think some of the goals I've seen him score, he takes set pieces. I watched the goal he scored for Brescia about 7 years ago. It's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen. Takes it from over here, somehow dinks the keeper. It's one of the best free kicks I've ever seen. But his intelligence in the final third is so strong and he can sniff out so many opportunities. And I think overall, when I'm looking at Spurs, I think I look at Mateus Fernandes, Sandro Tonali, Xavi Simons or James Maddison. I think that midfield is really good. And one thing that midfield does, whether or not it is James Maddison, Xavi Simons and Mateus Fernandes, one thing that midfield does straight away is 2 of them players can take the ball under pressure. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to, which is why I like the transfer more now than when I first saw it. Because when the transfer links first come out to Tonali, I was like, don't they need a passer? Don't they need a passer, someone who can take the ball? But they've now got both. And so I do think, genuinely, he has some poor moments of scanning and awareness. But for me, I think he's a really, really strong player for what Spurs need. I've got a graphic on your screen right now which shows his rankings across all 103 central midfield players that played last season in the Premier League. And I've got them all on your screen right here. And the ones that stand out are long balls, pressures applied in midfield third, he's 7th. Pressures applied, he's 10th. Switches of play is 10th. Long balls, as we said, was 9th. Progressive passes is 12, which is a really good total. Total carried progressed distance, 13th. Total carried distance, 15th. So there are some genuinely really good bits of data for Sandro Tonali on the ball. Now, I think that comes when the play is a bit further forward, because what he does have is he does have a snapped pass, and he's very much a player who thrives off losing possession, if that makes sense. So let's say he's trying to bend the ball. Let's say he's trying to bend the ball in pressure like this to this player. And we mentioned he likes to run ahead of the ball. He will knock that into the player. And if the player half controls it, but it turns into a little bit of a duel, let's say this Dominic Solanke, blah, 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 and the ball's turned over, and let's say the ball's knocked here, he will already be there for that second ball. That is how good his engine is. And I think defensively, he is one of one. I think he is in that bracket of Declan Rice, which is why Arsenal wanted him. I think he's in that bracket of Declan Rice, and I hold Tchouaméni in that same bracket, where these players are the best ball winners in the game. And they are forward-facing, they are head-up, they are powerful. And if you look at the modern game, that is what everyone wants. And for me, I think they've just struck really good balance. More than anything, I think they've just struck really good balance. And I know it's cost them almost 200 million quid in the market, but we're yet to see what everyone else is going to spend on a midfielder in this transfer window. Who knows how high they've actually set the bar for other teams to go around offering their midfield players for. You know, we're in a position now, Manchester United, where because we've not got Tonali for 100 million, because we've not spent 85 million on Mateus Fernandes, we might end up getting Alex Scott for the same money. And whether or not you value Alex Scott at that money, he wasn't that amount of money before these deals. He wasn't. So I think Spurs are risking it, yes. But again, I must reiterate, these were two of the top three, in my opinion, best midfielders on the market at the start of the window. And they have gone to a team who's just finished 17th. So Spurs should be more than happy with what they've done. And to be honest, I can see them having a pretty good season next season. If they get a left winger, if they get Krupa to play as that like second nine in this De Zerbi way, like this. If they can get Krupa to play off the nine like this as a second striker, they could be frightening next season. I'm being serious. So I'm really hoping they don't, to be honest. But yeah, again, another example of the amount of pressures that Sandro Tonali is applying throughout games. I've got the graphic on your screen right now. We can just see how many applications of pressure he's got across the pitch. Very, very similar to Mateus Fernandes. And yeah, I think the reason why I've grown to like this deal more, both of them, is because Roberto De Zerbi's always been a guy who has that balance in midfield, and it definitely feels like he's had a say in both of these deals massively. I think Spurs have given him a lot of transfer control, especially with Tonali, because obviously he knows him from the Serie A and from a similar place in Italy. But the midfield is always about balance. You know, I remember watching Maxime Lopez and Davide Fratese for Sassuolo. Maxime Lopez was that, swift, hippie player. Fratese was more of that runner. Same with Brighton. They had McAllister, Caicedo, very different-ish players. And now they've got that same balance here where they complement each other's weaknesses so well. And because they're playing in a pivot, not one has to do the complete of everything for the other to do something else. They can do bits of everything together. And yeah, for me, I just think this is a really exciting deal. I think it fixes everything that we've said about Spurs in the past couple of months, because the amount of midfielders they've got and they've burned money on that are just not good enough. And it just feels like they've just gone bang. Just get the best. Just get the best. And yeah, I can't turn my nose up at what they're trying to do in the market. If United did this, I think I'd be sitting there going, fair enough. And fair enough, like the two of the three best available at the time. The quality, we've got in there before anyone else. So yeah, congratulations, Spurs. I'm a bit gutted about Mateus Fernandes, to be honest. I really thought he was going to be a red, but, it is what it is. But thank you very much for watching this episode of the Overlap Breakdown. If you did enjoy, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next week for some more analysis. Thank you.
This has been a Global and the Overlap production.